morning. I'm Haley Woodencheck, the product manager here at Tulip, and I'm pleased to welcome you to our exciting session called First Site to Every Site, Scaling with the Tulip Library. This session explores how manufacturers can use Tulip's growing library of templates to scale process improvements efficiently, maintain consistency across sites, and sustain innovation all year long. Joining us, we have Roy Mekrez, Head of Ecosystem and GM for EMEA at Tulip, and Hugo Richard, Product Manager for the Tulip Library, both helping manufacturers turn composable apps and AI-powered content into real scalable impact. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the... So good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. Depends on which time zone you're coming from. I'm somewhere in the late afternoon, almost evening. So thank you for joining us. My name is Roy. I'm leading the ecosystem at Tulip, and Hugo is with me. He's the product manager for the library. And we're going to cover a few topics today about the library. We'll have some time for questions towards the end, so please hit us with some questions. Before we're starting, quick kind of survey to learn about the audience. We expect that most of you will have hands-on experience with Tulip. Can you raise your hand if you have experience hands-on with Tulip? All right, awesome. So good chunk of people. So we will try kind of to be slightly more tactical, let's say, than most of the other session, and think about kind of how Tulip scaling and using the library looks like in practice. So to hit us on, I want to touch maybe a term that in the Tulip world became a hype, but it's our day-to-day reality, which is composability. And those of you who are following Tulip in the last 2 years probably heard the term composability quite often. And composability for us, it's much more than an architecture. It's the way we design, the way we build. And today we're going to specifically talk about the way the library is using this idea of composability. And I know this slide looks maybe a bit complex, but I just like it because this is the way we think about application. At the end of the day, Tulip is about taking applications and compose them together into solutions. If I'm very extremely simplifying everything. Now, when we're doing all the effort in the product, in the platform, in the library itself, we are thinking about this principle as a leading item. And you probably, I hope you've been in the keynote and seen how we think about the product roadmap in a world of composability, and how we think about agents and automations and composing more and more tools into that. I specifically like when Mason was talking about the functions, because I think functions, unlike the composability on the application level, taking composability one layer down and bringing composable steps or building blocks that are composing one single application. So if you think about composability, it has different hierarchies. Now, just touching kind of again, high level of composability on principles, there are many different things that creating this composability for us as the core of the platform. And it's about the fact that many of you have access to Tulip and can build your own solution, and there is democratization of software through this composability and no code. There is continuous improvement that this composability enables, because you want to change something and that change won't break your entire system. It will evolve. There is discoverability, which we're emphasizing with the library, because we want that the content will be available and discoverable. And I invite you to visit us in the library wall in the main area, where we are showing kind of a new tool for discovering more and more applications in the library, and use the library as your brainstorming companion. And of course, modularity, etc. Obviously, the easiest analogy for composability is something like Lego and building blocks and things like that. What we're trying to do in the library, and we'll try to do today, is to organize this giant Lego box into drawers, maybe. I don't know how you're sorting your kids' Lego, but from time to time, I have a giant, very, very messy building blocks box, and I throw everything on the carpet and sort it into different pieces to make order. So that's what we're trying to do in the library. And maybe one more last comment about composability. Hope you've seen this slide before. This is, for me, a fundamental component about Tulip, and this is a movement that we have seen almost in any customer that went into a scale mode. And this is the idea of building your transformation journey or digitalization journey or continuous transformation journey with these composites, with building blocks, with application after application. Some of them evolve during the day and evolve again, and more value comes with time, with more and more applications that solve more and more problems. So with that, I want to move into a quick spoiler and kind of jump all the way to the end and give Hugo opportunity to talk about agents.
Yeah, give an extra click. So we've just seen how these composable systems are made of these nodes, of these building blocks, so apps, tables, automations. And here we're really introducing like the latest, the bleeding edge of composability with that new building block, that AI agent. And I want to give you a quick demo here on how you can use those agents to help extract, the value of the data that your your production systems are collecting on a daily basis. And so here, that agent has a pretty simple goal. It's to help a production supervisor prepare the handoff of the shift. And so, it's a task that typically takes, 20, maybe 30 minutes. During which that production supervisor needs to write a report highlighting potentially some risks, some defects that happen, something that needs to be taken care of by the next shift. And here we can see the agent that is taking actions. Is given that goal, given that prompt, and with that agency taking decisions on where to look for the data. Using those tools, understanding the instance, so listing tables, understanding the schema of those tables, what are the columns, getting the last 8 hours of data, so querying those tables, fetching that context across maybe equipment, defects, and putting together that report that hopefully will help save time from your engineers, and as Nathan was saying, help them do more, right? Having them being more effective and do more on a daily basis.
So if we connect that to the composability, the AI agents should serve as an additional layer on top of what you already have built and what you have live in your instance. And being able to leverage that, we hope that most of you will adopt it in the coming year. And what we are launching together with the AI agent is pre-built agents in our library that are ready for customized. Our assumption, of course, is that everyone will need to adjust different things and customize. But we are launching into the library 10 new agents that you can see in the library. So that's kind of running into the end, but let's take one step back. So, Hugo, what is the library?
Yeah, great question. So why library in the first place? So when you take Tulip as a platform, it's a great platform, very flexible, with those no-code capabilities, meaning that very easily you can go and build your systems, but your mission is still to build a production system, right? And that's not easy. Even if it's easier to build apps and with that no-code capability, you still need to build something that is, that you will use to run your factory. And so what we're doing with the library is providing this layer of starting point solutions to try to help you kind of draw that path, right? Help you draw the path of how can you get started building that production system. And so we are releasing, these pre-built solutions, around multiple use cases, and trying to embed also some manufacturing expertise to really get you started on the right fit.
So our library team is basically a product engineering team. We have a set of developers that develop content into the library. Hugo is the product manager, and we run all the time agility development cycle, try to understand from customers what are the needs and bring that into the library, try to generalize and bring things that will be ready for customized. That we hope should help companies adopt Tulip at scale. And see more and more complex solutions. So in the last year, we moved from just applications into app suites, for example. So how that looks like in scale, what drives us?
Yeah, so exactly as you were saying, the mission a bit of the team is trying to get you to value faster and at scale. And to do that, there's trying to help you get from I have a problem on the floor or I have that idea to I have a solution that is deployed, and trying to get, accelerating that timeline. Also delivering those best practices, meaning, I want to do review by exception. How am I supposed to do that in Tulip? And then you can get that app from the library and try to understand how you're supposed to do that in Tulip. And the last bit here is when you find a problem on the floor and you're wondering maybe, what is the right tool to solve that? Is Tulip maybe capable of doing that? Hopefully, going to the library and browsing our content, you should be able to find the answer if Tulip is the right tool to address that problem, and if you can find a starting point there to help you go faster.
And of course, the library is not only about applications. So this is the place where we host all the building blocks that you can use into your deployment. We're talking about connectors. So many of the tech partners that you see in the partner pavilion, we have built connectors and demo and unit tests that can be found in the library. We're talking about widgets, these UX, UI components that are more advanced and require some low code that you can build. Many of these can be found in the library. We have a hub for partners to discover how things can fit with Tulip in different partners. And of course, the core of 170 apps and 40 app suites that we have released in the last 18 months, things like the composable MES, which was our first app release, but we extended to medical devices and aerospace and defense and pharma, and lately to training and skill matrices, and many other components that we are releasing. Maybe a call to action here, and kind of that's the core of what we're trying to bring is, please let us know if you think of something that is missing when you have a need. I think we had an amazing discussion this morning with one of you here in the audience about CMMS for maintenance and how the library can help accelerate this solution. So we are trying to listen as much as possible to what customers needs. Today we see around 400 monthly installs. Raise your hand if you have installed a library app.
Yay!
All right, not bad, not bad. Hopefully next year everybody will raise their hand. But we see around 30% of the users, the 9,000 plus users that are building applications, downloading applications. And today we have 1,500 applications globally in production that came from the library. And that number was growing 30% compared to previous year. So Hugo, as the product manager of the library, walk us through what we have launched this year.
Yeah. So this year we opened a few new categories. So we've seen a lot of customers asking us, Nathan touched on that. It's hard to hire skilled workers. It's hard to, especially in the US and in Europe. And so we created that app suite around frontline training and skill management to really help you manage the skills of your operators, know who is skilled at which task, or managing which equipment, or doing which product. And also helping you manage your trainings, assigning trainings, and also potentially creating some like on-job training capabilities to really try to help you ramp up faster those new hires, or gain more agility by shifting resources from station to station. So that's the first launch that we did. Not the first actually, that's the last one we did. And as well, earlier this year, beginning of the year, we heard, so Tulip was traditionally used a lot in factory, but we heard a lot of customers willing to go to the lab as well. And when you think of lab, it's not only biotech and pharma, right? It's also like pretty much any manufacturer has a physical location somewhere in their factory where they really dedicate to doing inspections, managing samples, maybe managing instruments, knowing which instrument is calibrated, maybe not calibrated. And so we build that suite of capabilities to help you digitize also that space and making work together with the rest of the production. And then we also released AI agents, of course, so we're going to speak a little bit more about that. So around 10 agents are on the library today, and they follow the composable principles, meaning you can also build yours, hopefully in a pretty short amount of time. And then we also open new verticals. So we heard from regulated industries, and here I speak mostly about med device, ADF, aerospace and defense, those who have these discrete assembly processes, and you sometimes may be struggling to understand, what components went into which assembly, which sub-assembly maybe went into which assembly. With that release, we released hopefully we helped you get to traceability and compliance faster and easier. We know it's really not easy to set up that kind of production systems. And so here again, we're trying to deliver those best practices on when I pick traceability, for example, how do you do that tracking, which components are going to which assembly, how do you do review by exception or review those assemblies? How do I do kitting, for example? And then we also took a stab at frontline QMS. So it's actually the first app suite where we added that frontline adjective. And I want to explain you a little bit why. So when you look at the QMS market, the QMS solutions out there, they typically have been designed rather for office workers. People working in offices, and so you have unnecessarily complex interfaces. It can be really hard to train your technicians or your operators on these type of solutions. And so we've heard that from quite a few customers, and we thought Tulip has this great user-friendly interface. How can we leverage that friendliness and put it to help you digitize your QMS. And so here there's really two ways you can adopt that frontline QMS is, or you don't have yet a QMS and you can use Tulip as your QMS, use it as a system of record for these defects and so on. Or you can also just decide to augment your QMS, meaning my operator needs to do an inspection and have that tool connected to get that data automatically. Let's use Tulip for that guidance and have that connectivity, and then flow that data back to the QMS. Yeah, so this is the year in review. Exciting year.
Cool. And if anyone here wants to start and they haven't already downloaded an application, how that journey looks like?
Yeah, so I mean, first, you can go to library, where you can click on the next slide here. Go to library, look for the use case that you're interested in. Download the application that you think is meeting your need. Recently as well, we did some effort to help you click through those applications. So when you download that app and you run it on the player, you'll see there are these little buttons that simulate some data, so that you just open the player and then you can click through the app, which we know makes it easier for you to understand what you got from library. And when I think as well of how can library help you scale your production system and potentially through multiple sites, I think I really see, we've seen really two motions. The first one is the top-down motion, where a lot of our customers are building what they call their core composable MES. And when you look at that core composable MES, it's typically the main interactions between Tulip and the ERP, or the main interaction between Tulip and the QMS. Basically, Tulip with the rest of the landscape of your systems. And here, library can help you to build that core composable MES by using our connectors to quite a lot of systems. We have pre-built connectors in the library. And you can also get started on that core composable MES with the app suites that you find on the library, and start rolling that out to your site.
Now, it's a good opportunity to touch what sits underneath these applications that enable the composability. And one of these core components sits in the data world. You probably know when you're downloading an app suite or even an application, it comes with the tables for the data that's supported. So along the years, we have developed what we call the common data model, that you can find all the documentation about it. And this common data model is a set of tables that we incorporate from years of working with customers and build these best practices. So the common data model was introduced 18 months ago together with the composable MES, but actually our delivery team, and Hugo is now 4 years with Tulip and coming from the professional services team, have been using this common data model for years. And luckily, last week I posted on LinkedIn something about composability, etc. And Rab here is an OT engineer at CPI, which is sort of non-profit organization in Scotland that is building a pharma environment to accelerate digital transformation. And I can read you what Rab wrote. He's saying that having a common data model to pivot from was a game changer. By adopting it wholesale and tweaking where required, I found that most of the time, if I had to invent some data, there was already a placeholder for it in one of the tables. Someone clearly did their homework with this one. So I admit we did our homework, and we incorporate probably hundreds of customers into that concept, but still without breaking the concept of composability. So if you want to extend and add another table, you have the full freedom to do it, and the full customization of Tulip. So let's drill down one click into how the common data model looks like and what was kind of the design principles.
Yeah, and to double click on what you just said, it's really meant to be as a starting point, right? It's really here to guide you, but in no mean you should see that as something rigid that you have to adapt to, right? Like, go ahead, add extra columns, add more tables if you need to. But that being said, when we think of data modeling in Tulip, what are the key principles that we adhere to when we do those data models? And I've said that to a lot of the customers I used to work with when I was in the professional services team. There's really three types of table, as you can see. We have artifacts table. Artifacts basically represent things that you can find in a factory. So there's physical artifacts, which are typically equipment, materials, and then you have process artifacts, which are things that are you can't see. It's not physical, but it's still there in your factory. And here you can think of work orders or defects potentially. And these artifacts, they always have a life cycle, meaning they always, if you take the example of the equipment, they always have a life cycle that is defined by the status. And so in that example, you have an equipment that you are maybe, when you start your logbook application, you'll pick the equipment that is dirty. And as you go through that logbook process, the equipment will be cleaning in process and then clean. And then you'll get another app, which is maybe an app in which a process app in which you use that equipment. And that will also modify that status of the equipment. And that's really how we think of how you can model those artifacts in our data model.
So I think if you are not using the common data model, we highly recommend using it. It will enable a lot of easy downloads from the library and scaling easier. Yeah. And it's never too late, kind of to adapt into that that common model.
And I actually have another point. So the references table is, think of it as your master data. Sometimes you need master data to run your process. You can think of a bill of material, or maybe a recipe or routing. And there's really two places where this can live. Or it can live in Tulip in a dedicated table, or it is going to live in another system of records, where if you think of the routing, it's going to live in the ERP, and then don't store that in Tulip, but rather try to fetch it real time from that system of record. The bill of material, you might want to store it in Tulip, but you also preferably want to fetch data from your PLM in real time as well here. So that's the last.
If you want to talk more about the common data model, you're invited to come to the library wall or joining our weekly library office hours as well. That we run, and you can definitely join. We have half an hour in Europe and half an hour in the US every week. So that's open invitation.
And I think there's going to be a workshop around data modeling as well these 2 days.
Tomorrow, probably.
Tomorrow, yeah.
So let's take a practical example. Luckily, we have a public customer, Crestline in Canada, that is a public reference. And Crestline is building these ambulances. So they're not building the cars, but they're customizing the ambulances. It's a high mix, low volume type of production, high complexity. Each type of the product have its own spec to the customer. And they have started their Tulip adoption journey alongside with the help of our professional services team. That started from the composable MES. They download that from the library, including the common data model, and started customize. And it was really, really nice to see, because within a month, probably even quicker, but within a month, they had more or less a ready production system running in their production with visibility to what's happening and solving all sort of problems that were completely paper-based before. So here I'm showing 3 different examples of applications that they adopted. Of course, customized from the composable MES, so you can see that they added their branding and colors, and of course adopted into their production. I specifically like this big dashboard here, because it's, without even starting to explain what it is, I think everybody here understands what it shows, right? Each one of these is a bay assembly, and you can see the status of each one of the ambulances. And it's a small tweak, but it's so beautiful to see, the emoji of the ambulance with the status, and kind of every employee can immediately engage and understand what's going on in real time and have this visibility.
And I think here, to double click on the value of library, the story as well is, so on day one, the professional services team walked the floor, trying to understand the process, understand what will be the scope of that deployment, At the end of day one, the professional services team took the composable MES, tweaked it, and on day two, they were able to demo, those apps, a few apps from the composable MES, maybe 2-3 apps, to the operators on day two. Having tweaked that based on what they had seen the first day, and so you really had that shrinked time to demo. And on day two, they could already get feedback. Hey, how does the workflow look like? Does the button here looks, is it the right place to put it? And in a couple of days, they could already get the operators on board as well, which is not always easy, and get rolling.
So from Canada into France, I believe.
Yeah, I'll take the French one.
Yes.
Maroquinerie Thomas is a luxury goods manufacturer. It's a 100+ years old manufacturer that produces quite a few different products. They supply biggest luxury goods retailer. And what is very specific about their process, as with many suppliers in that industry, it takes weeks for an operator to be trained on a product. Right? They have a bunch of different products, but it really takes weeks to train an operator to be able to manufacture those products. And recently, what they have seen is that the product life cycle time duration is really shrinking, and so they had to think of new ways of how they can train at scale. Basically get a more agile workforce, having really have visibility on who has which skills, who is trained on what station, what equipment, and which product as well. And so Christophe, the digital transformation director, came to me because he knew that I was already investigating skills management and that frontline training and management app suites. And we partnered here, meaning we really built that app suite together to help them go from the paper process that couldn't scale anymore because it didn't allow as much visibility as they wanted on the different skills. And so we built together that app suite, starting with the widget that allows them now. They have that on a big screen, so everybody knows what they are skilled on. You can directly request a training from the app as an operator, and so it really helps production supervisors to reallocate resources and prepare for the next products that they want to ship. And here my call to action to the audience is that was a great experience working directly with that customer to build those capabilities that we didn't yet have on the library. And if you also have some very specific use cases that you don't see on library and you'd like to partner with us to potentially build those new capabilities, go and visit us. Go and tell me. Come and tell me.
All right, so where are we heading? Obviously, the library team continues building and we have a full roadmap, but we are kind of trying to focus, at least in the coming year, on 3 pillars.
Correct. Yeah, we're trying to focus. So the first big pillar here is we want to keep covering more industries, more use cases. We want to enable a more diverse and a broader set of manufacturers to adopt Tulip and build their composable production systems. So that's the first area. So we're thinking of building capabilities around potentially warehouse management, potentially helping biotech manufacturers. So covering more verticals and more use cases. That's the first one. The second one is we have a lot of system integrators, like what we call solutions partner. They work with potentially many of you, and they are also developing a lot of expertise on very niche, well, not necessarily niche, but on a lot of use cases. We also want to allow them and enable them to post that content sanitize the content and then post the content so that the broader community can also benefit from the expertise that they're developing, and hopefully they can post that in applications or in connectors. And we have a lot of examples now in library of a solutions partner who builds something and then posts it on the library, and it benefits the broader community. And that also loops into the industry coverage. And then now that we are building all that expertise around manufacturing systems on the library, we also want to take that and you really fuel and funnel it into AI agents that we just introduced today. So when you look at the different tools that agents have access to, they also have access to library content. And so those LLMs aren't necessarily super knowledgeable about manufacturing in general. That's also because historically there hasn't been that many information on the web around, how do I build a weighing dispense application, or how do I build a kitting system like it. There's maybe not that much information. And so we are trying to take that expertise and fuel it and funnel it into AI systems to help you, again, leverage those best practices and that expertise into your instances and to help you build those systems.
So to close the talk, let's go back to how AI agents looks like in the library and how people can adopt them.
And so speaking about funneling expertise into these agents, that's I quickly walked. I think it's a little bit small, the font there, but I walked through our experience center. There's a wave bioreactor there, and I quickly wrote down a process of how I want that batch record to look like. So go to the reactor, scan the bag, make sure the temperature is correctly set up, initiate, then have a screen to monitor the various signals with a simple prompt. This prompt is for our solution design expert agent, so an agent that has access to that library content and those support articles, and help me build an app architecture. So maybe you can go to the next one. Help me build an app architecture, meaning let me know, what are the tables that I need to take. I think you need to click again. What are the tables that I need? What are the steps that I need to build? The demo is not working. And so that agent then is understanding that prompt and then searching library for potential starting points. And as it gets library content, it also receives a lot of information about the app. So if you fetch a blending template, for example, the agent will also, maybe some of you are familiar with app diagrams, will receive the app diagram, meaning what is the navigation of the app, what is the step structure, what is the data model used, and based off, I'm supposed to do blending with these tables and that navigation and those widgets. All of that context is given to the agent, and then it can, based on that, recommend you an app architecture. So the demo didn't work, right?
No.
Okay. Well, come to the library wall and you'll be able to see the demo as well. But basically, recommending you an app structure. So here's the table that you will take. Build an app with these and these steps. This step you can take it from this app from the library. This step from this one, and these are the agents that we are releasing in the library. So when you think of AI agents, there are really two buckets of agents. The ones that will help you design, build, test applications, and the ones that you can deploy on the floor and that will help your production supervisor, as we've seen, or that will help your dispatch orders and so on. And so that's the collection that we have released yet, and I think there will be more to come.
And I think common to all these agents is they're all with the principle of human in the loop. So there is no decisions or actions that are being taken without a human in the loop, and it's tried to streamline some of the tasks and data collections and ideas like that. So again, this will be live in the library, and we will happy to have questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Any questions? We have a microphone.
Yeah, question here.
Hello. Here you go.
This is a question that you guys actually ended up answering with the last thing, but I've been working with Tulip for about 3-4 years now at this point, and the library is not anywhere what it was when I first started. And now, like, there's 140 different apps, and so my question to you was going to be, how do I help navigate everything available? And you guys already thought about that with that agent. So thank you guys a lot.
Oh yeah. The question is, how do we help you navigate all of that content?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you guys made, what did you guys call it? The agent that lets you...
the solution design expert.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, when we think of some friction points in library, there's definitely like discoverability is one, meaning, I have a problem, how do I find the right solution for it? And so I think this agent indeed helps with that discoverability. And hopefully also with the next one, which is once I found a piece of content, how do I make sure that I understand what is the app that I'm getting? And I think also agents here will be able to help like understand the content that you're fetching.
Hi. I work in medical manufacturing, and so that comes with a lot of validation.
Yeah.
I did see that you had a validation guide generator.
Correct.
Will that generate test cases for validation as well?
Yes, so this one is super exciting, I think. It will generate two things. The first one is a risk matrix of your app. So for each step, you have, potentially a few risks on each step, meaning, if it's a select batch step, you have, okay, select a batch, do I select the actual correct batch? I click next, that is actually goes next, or I record as temperature, that's like high risk. So it's going to help you create this risk matrix, meaning that step is risk medium, this one high. And the second thing is going to generate as well is test cases. So basically, an instructions of how can you test the app, right? So open the player, go to step A, select batch, and then click and then you're supposed to, the theoretical outcome is ABC, and that's for every step. Yeah.
But of course, it's not limited to that because with the AI agent editor, we actually enable creating your own agents, and when it will be live in the platform, you can start playing with that and try to see if it can even take it further and kind of build exactly what you need.
Yeah. And so another use case that I found interesting, just discussed this morning, is they were asking, okay, can these AI agents help me document my applications? And so, that customer were documenting on, they had some PDFs documenting the app and the app itself. And I think, yes, you can completely like feed that to the agent and ask it to create documentation for your app if you need to document your applications.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
How you doing? I was curious about the prompt when you're prompting using AI for consistency. If you're prompting one day and then you prompt the next day, are you using the same prompt? Are you going to get the same result, or are you expecting different results in the way it lays it out?
Yeah. So there is a difference between the AI agents and the prompting environment that we're releasing within the Tulip platform versus just an AI tool that you're using. And we've incorporated a lot of, let's call them defense mechanisms for a second, to prevent hallucination and data leakages and using of wrong information and try to improve the consistency. It's not bulletproof. But simply to your questions, I believe that you will get the same result unless the data changed, and that obviously will feed into different data. But I think that's overall. Obviously, before we will push it into the market and see high scale of users, we will not know for sure, but from what we have been testing till now, and yesterday we had 25 app builders participating in a workshop on AI agents together with us, and we have seen quite consistency and really good use cases of these agents.
Yeah, but you ask ChatGPT, hey, how are you, twice, it's gonna answer you two different answers. But it doesn't mean that any of them is like wrong, right? If you give it a bunch of context, the answer might not be copy paste the same, but hopefully none of them are wrong.
So I have a question. I might have missed it in the beginning, but my question is regarding scaling it to a multi-site global function, right? And each of my site has its own MES, which pulls from its own softwares. Is it a lot of investment and capital for me to integrate all into one composable system and then use it from there, or how does it work?
Well, that's a global architecture that is beyond Tulip, because you're touching about different systems that you have in your site, right? So if you have two different MES systems unrelated to Tulip and you want Tulip as a layer on top of these two, obviously you will need to standardize the integration if you want Tulip to work in the same way. So you can use different mechanisms like middlewares and define the architecture and define the standards in order to unify the data. Obviously, it's not magic, right? If you have completely two different data sets in two different MES systems in two different sites and building two different products, that's the core challenge of manufacturing, right? That's why we designed Tulip with this principle from the beginning, because every problem, every factory is unique and have a dynamic environment that is changing. Similar to the previous question, I think there is no silver bullet, but it can definitely help.
But also, I didn't really finish my explanation earlier when I was saying how can you use library to scale from one side to every side. There's the top-down motion that it can help you build those core composable MES pieces. But I think it also is really good at helping you build that bottom-up motion. You have that core composable MES, or maybe the MES that you have on your different sites, they will solve for a certain surface area of your processes, but you will always have some papers lying around, or you always have problems around that surface area that are not covered. And I think library is a great tool to help your citizen developers or your local teams also start building those solutions around that core scope that you have defined, and extend it and help them extend that to solve some of the problems that they face locally. Thank you very much.